Welcome to Cooking with Master Gardeners, Penn State Extension, Delaware County. My name is Lisa Kraft.
And my name is Jane Neary. Today we're going to be making chili con carne, and we're going to be making apple crisp. And we're going to start with the apple crisp. So Lisa's going to tell you how we start everything when we cook.
We always start with washing our hands. Make sure you wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. A good way to measure this is to sing happy birthday twice. You could either use soap or water or use hand sanitizer. Of course, you always want to wash your fruits and vegetables before you start any type of cooking. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about our recipe. We're going to be cooking apple crisp today.
Today we're going to start with making apple crisp. Don't normally start with dessert first, but my mom would love this. We're using two kinds of apples today. One is a John Gold and the other one is a Honey Crisp. You can use any kind of apple except Red Delicious and Granny Smith. Red Delicious, you cannot cook with them, and they're the apples that have 4 bumps on the bottom so you can tell what they are. But any of the other apples are really good for this. We're using two kinds only because I had two kinds, but you could use just one, it's fine. So we're going to start with peeling and chopping the apples, excuse me. And Lisa's going to show you how to do that.
We have two types of our apples here, and this one is our John Gold. The kids really love to peel. So I like to peel my apples before I cut them up. So I'm going to peel my apples in a circular motion here, but you could cut them and then peel them second. Okay, I have peeled my apples, and what you want to do now is we're going to cut them up into a kind of cube shape, maybe a little bit more than that. So there's two different ways you want to cut your apples. You don't want the core. So you could either use a corer to take the center out, or you could cut these in a similar way that we had cut our peppers. So I could cut around the outsides like this. And then cut my apples this way. Or you could cut the apples in half and quarter them. And then take out the center part by hand. Okay, I'm going to measure my apple. You need about 6 cups. Okay, I have 6 cups worth now. And I'm going to place this into a greased baking pan.
That's a good amount.
I'm going to put in the rest just a little bit.
Yeah, put on. You want to mount them up because they cook down. So what looks like a really full dish will eventually cook down a little bit.
Now we're going to go into the really good part, our topping.
Okay, we're going to start, leave it over there now. We're going to start with butter. We're going to melt butter. Everything tastes better with butter. But I want to show you that on the butter sticks, it has the measurements. We need 5 1/3 tablespoons. Each one of these little marks is 1 tablespoon. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1/3 of the next one. And I'm going to cut it. I've melted the butter in the microwave. I put it on medium power, 50% for 25 seconds. This is a very weak powered microwave, so it took 2 or 3 times to do it. But make sure you do it at a low temperature so you don't burn the butter. If you don't have a microwave, you can do it on top of the range and just put it on low, and again watch it so it does not burn. So I have my butter melted, and that's the last thing that goes on the topping. Now we're going to start making the rest of it. I need 1 cup just regular flour. And I actually use a spoon usually to get this out because I kind of stir it up and loosen up the flour. It makes it a little bit lighter. And so I want 1 cup. I'll do really good if I don't get it all over me. And so I got it almost to the top. I'm going to put it back here, and I'm just going to smooth it across the top so I have an accurate measurement. So I've got 1 cup of flour. This is sugar. I need 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So I'm going to use the same measuring cup, and on the side there are little grooves that tell me that when I get to 3/4 of the way up. So again, I'm going to use my spoon. Three-quarters of a cup goes in the bowl. I also need to use baking powder. This is baking powder. Make sure you're not using baking soda. Baking powder comes in a round can. They're different things, and I used to mistake them. I need 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So on your spoons, you'll see measurements on the handles of it, and this is 1 teaspoon. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to use the edge of the can, if you can see it, to level it off. So 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Then I need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Makes this stuff good. Again, same spoon. One of my cinnamon. And 1 teaspoon of cinnamon goes in. That's all the dry ingredients. So I'm going to kind of mix them with my spoon. And I'm going to mix them even better for a few minutes. Okay, now I need 1 egg. And the egg is not beaten first. It goes in whole into this. So I'm going to show you how my mother showed me how to crack an egg when I was little. We used the knife, but I'm going to use the fork because I'm going to use it to mix. So I'm going to crack it with this. And I'm cracking it into another bowl. We always crack it into another bowl first. Make sure we don't get any shells. No shells, the egg goes in. Okay, I'm also going to add a teaspoon of salt. I almost forgot the salt. I'm going to use the fork to mix all of this in until it gets crumbly. I'm going to just mix the egg, keep picking up the egg, mixing it in. Eventually I'm going to get in here with my fingers. Okay, we've got crumbs now. I'm going to switch over to, here, give me the casserole for a minute. I'm going to get you to, this is where the messy comes in. You've got to dive in with your hands, and you're going to spread it all over the top of this. And you want to make sure you cover it. I do the outsides first because it's the hardest thing to do, and it's easy to put it in the middle. Now comes the good part. Yeah, I'll just use it. Oh, I should make it done. Now you're going to drizzle the butter all over the top. And you need, it's easiest to do it with a spoon, because that way you make sure it's all covered, rather than just pour it, because then it ends up in a big puddle in the middle. So I just use a spoon to kind of drizzle. And again, I do the outsides first, simply because it's harder to do that. And I get that over with, and I know I've got it done. but you really want to make sure that it's all covered, because this is what's going to make it crisp. It smells good already. This kitchen is really going to start to smell good when we put it in the oven. Okay, we got it. So now Lisa's going to put it in a 350 degree oven, and it will stay in there for 35 minutes. Okay, today we're going to do chili con carne. Again, we're featuring vegetables that we actually grow in the garden. Although it's winter time, these did not come out of our garden. But we do grow peppers, onions, and tomatoes, which all go into the chili. I'm going to start with 1 pound of ground beef. I'm just going to go, we're using an electric frying pan only because it's easier to show you what we're doing. Ordinarily, you would do this in a frying pan on your range. So there's no difference. So I'm going to dump it in. I'm trying not to touch it with my hands because if I do, I'd have to wash my hands again. So I'm going to break this up and then start to heat it up a little bit. And as it heats, I'm going to keep breaking it up. But this is just to start. Turn it on medium. So if you're doing it on your range, you're going to put your burner on medium. Okay, the second thing that's going into it are onions, because I really want to start to brown them with the meat. Okay, it calls for 1.5 cups of chopped onion. Now I peeled onions, I've started to chop some. I peeled these, what I did was cut both ends off and then I cut it down the middle and took the peel off. So you get a shape like this. Okay, I'm going to take each one of these. I want them in about 1-inch dice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go this way on the onion and slice it about 1 inch. It's going to be a little small here. Okay, that's going to be your guide. And then the onions go in half, almost like a half moon. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to go from the center out and cut it like that. Again, half moon, put it down, you're going to go from the center out, turn the onion, center, out. So you have uniform pieces. And you're going to do that all the way around. If you're working with your kids and you slice it this way, they can do it the other way. And with the meat, because I want them to brown a little bit with the meat. And Lisa's going to show you how to do the peppers.
This recipe calls for 1.5 cups of green peppers. So here I have my green pepper, and what I'm going to do is cut it along the outside. And what I'm going to try to do is leave this part of the green pepper right here. That part of the green pepper is bitter, so we just want the bell part to be part of our recipe. So once I cut it, I'm going to follow the same size as the onions. So I'm going to cut it into larger, about 1-inch pieces. Take off this white part, which is bitter.
Beef is the browning with onions. Excuse me. You need to make sure you have a big enough pan, because if the pan was smaller, the beef would turn red because it would be boiled instead of starting to brown. So make sure you have a big enough pan to fit this in. I'm going to show you how to drain the grease off because you don't want a bowl full of grease. We're going to turn this off for a few minutes. This is a grown-up job because grease is really hot and it will burn. So if you're cooking as a family, make sure that as the adult does this. What I did was I pushed, if you can see, I pushed the beef and the onions to one side. And now I'm going to I took a paper towel, kind of folded it in thirds, but I left one side taller than the others. I'm going to put this in here, keep one end up, like out of the pan. Okay. So the grease is now on the paper towel. I've left the tail. So now I'm going to put my turner underneath, pull this up because there's nothing on it, and I'm going to put it in a bowl or in a trash can. It doesn't make any difference. Make sure you don't put the grease down the drain because it will clog.
Now let's talk about some of the rest of the ingredients. We're going to be adding kidney beans. The kidney beans come in a can like this, but before you use them, you have to rinse them. So empty the kidney beans into a sieve and then make sure you wash them thoroughly. So here are our kidney beans that we're going to be adding, 1 can. In addition to kidney beans, we're also going to be adding 1 can of diced tomatoes and also a can of tomato sauce. So we'll be opening up our cans. Here we have a hand can opener. So before I open up any cans, you have to make sure that you wipe off the lids because cans are stored in warehouses where they have a lot of type of rodents that run around inside of them along with insects. So you want to make sure anytime you open up a can, you do make sure you clean off the tops of them thoroughly. Okay. So to do, just grip the outside edges, turn the handle, and there I have my lid. I like to keep a little bit of the edge of the lid still attached so my lid does not fall inside. And let's empty these in with our meat. And we'll mix it all up.
Mix all.
And now let's add some more spices. A teaspoon of salt. A half a teaspoon of pepper. Now this pepper comes with its own pepper mill. We had cut a cup and a half of peppers, green bell peppers.
Okay, we used tomatoes that were chili ready, so if you can find them, it means that you don't have to put any other spices in with it. It's already in the tomatoes that we used. So they are available. If you use plain diced tomatoes, you would add 1 tablespoon of chili powder and half a teaspoon of cumin. So now all we have to do now, all of this has been mixed. We want it to simmer, which means you don't want it to boil hard, you just want it to just bubble a little bit for about a half an hour because the peppers need to cook. And we're going to let this hang out. We're going to cover it, let it hang out, and in half an hour we'll be ready to eat it. The chili's now been cooking for about half an hour. It is done. And we're ready to serve it. Now you're going to serve it in a soup bowl. It's really, really good for a nice winter dish. served with a nice crusty bread. Perfect meal because it's got vegetables, a lot of different colored vegetables in it. So you've got a fairly good balanced meal in it. So you've got your chili. It's traditionally served with cheddar cheese sprinkled on top. This is cheddar jack. So you sprinkle the cheese on top. The only thing left is to enjoy it. So chili con carne with cheddar cheese. And for dessert we made apple crisp. It's been out of the oven for at least a half an hour. It's cool enough to touch. This is really the right time to eat it, when it's a little bit warm. The top is crisp. I'm going to just cut into it, and you're going to serve it in a dish. It's really, really extra good if you have either whipped cream or vanilla ice cream with it. You got apple crisp. It smells delicious. And chili con carne. So we hope you'll try the recipes. They really are good. It smells really good in this kitchen. So enjoy cooking with your family, and we'll be back at the Boys and Girls Club soon.